fly over the West Coast TVET College campuses. One of the best colleges in South Africa, located at a point where a long time ago the African continent and the South American continent and the Antarctic continent sheared apart, and you can actually see some of the consequences of that in the geological formations in front of us. And we can start our journey by flying over the Cape Peninsula and Cape Town Harbour with Table Mountain and Robben Island towards Africa's only nuclear power station, Koeberg. Now, the first thing you'll see is that it's got a huge water resource from the Atlantic, sucking in 80 tons of water a second. And those are going into those two big containment units. I think of them as kettles. The way I imagine it is inside of those two huge containment zones are uranium rods which heat up water. And as that water gets heated, it turns to steam. The steam goes into a generator. The generator turns a turbine. That makes electricity, and that powers all of Cape Town. And right next to it, you have the Koeberg Training Center with its two training control room simulators to ensure that when you practice how to run Koeberg, you don't make expensive mistakes. And about 23 kilometers from Koeberg, you have the town of Atlantis, the failed apartheid urban experiment where they designated the area as colored in our strange apartheid terminologies and tried to encourage people from the Cape Flats to come move to new houses here, new infrastructure, new electricity, new jobs with big factories being set up. And what happened was a whole lot of people bought into this and moved to the town, only to find their hopes dashed as the factories that arrived started to close down, huge unemployment, massive gang problem, big drugs over here with tik. So it's become a very dysfunctional zone. But recently they've turned it into a special economic zone, those geographically designated areas that are set aside for targeted economic activities. And over here it's all about green tech, wind turbines, solar panels and green buildings. And it's in the industrial zone that you have our first campus. Now in the 1980s it used to be the Atlantis Technical Institute, and then in the 90s it became a part of Protea College, and in 2002 it was taken to form a part of West Coast College. And it's really a construction campus. You can do trade tests over there, you can do electrical engineering and related design, and then a combination of business management and financial management. And we're doing a radical pull-out now over Saldanha Bay, which we'll visit later. And what you can see in front of you is the beautiful green wheat fields known as the granary of the Cape, because this whole area is actually a Mediterranean climate. It's got winter rainfall, and wheat grows spectacularly well in this area. Unlike the Bantu, who in their great migration through Africa were moving down the east coast with a summer rainfall, growing maize, a summer crop which they had taken all the way through down West and East Africa, hitting a natural boundary around the Fish River in the Eastern Cape, where the climate again transitioned from a summer rainfall to a winter rainfall. And that is where they started to slow down their movement down the coast. But it's wheat that's dominant in this area. First planted with Jan van Riebeck when he arrived. In 1652 they started to experiment in the first winter, and Malmesbury really arose as a service centre for all the wheat farmers in the area. And you'll see that some of the streets are called Bokomo, others are called Sasco, and there's all sorts of wheat mills in the area. Now that makes this campus quite useful to have as a hospitality campus. And actually they've got a state-of-the-art hospitality school where people are experimenting with making croissants and how to serve wine, all done in a beautiful new premises that was built in around about 2014. And you can also do other things like business management and HR and financial management over there, as well as skills in bookkeeping and accounting. But now as we slowly pull out of this campus, I want to fly over the new prison. It's the first post-apartheid prison, the prison built just after the end of apartheid, and they attempted to experiment with breaking it up into small pods so that the people could kind of experience community in the prison. Now, unfortunately, all the gang members who come from Atlantis don't want that. They want a situation where they can all get together and declare their gang interests. So the well-intentioned designs of the architect have come into strong conflict with the social needs of the gang members. So we've done a radical pullback so you can see the tough environmental conditions around Atlantis, and then the beautiful granary of the Western Cape stretching out ahead of you. And we're going to travel through the Groot Winterhoek Mountains and the Cederberg Mountains with their great catchment zones for water and fly through to the Citrusdal campus. And it's on the Olifants River, so named by the explorers from 1660 who were searching for the lost kingdom of Monomotapa in search of the mysterious Copper Mountain. And you can see that this was quite a simple trail for them to follow through. Now, the Citrusdal campus started off as the Citrusdal Center for Further Education and Training in 1999, and then it was a part of Tygerberg College, and in 2002 it merged to form West Coast College. Now, what's interesting about this college is it was not made up of one central old technical college or one central school of education or college of education. It's been cobbled together from different satellites from different colleges. So it's got no real old history attached to it. It's a new identity. It's a new college with new residences, new workshops, new lecture rooms for its close to 10,000 students. Now, at this campus, you can do electrical engineering and you can do engineering and related design. And like all the other campuses, at every single campus, you can do management assistant, office administration, you can do the international computer driver's license, you can do mechanical engineering, and you can do early childhood development. So let's keep going on the same route that those 1660 explorers used to find the Copper Mountains of Monomotapa, eventually turning out to be in a keep near Springbok. Now, because of the huge mountains in the area, the Cederberg especially, causing runoff down into these plains, you have the oldest irrigation scheme in South Africa over here, the Olifants River Irrigation Scheme. And it started in 1850, although it was formally established in 1911, also using these dams, like the Clan Williams Dam, which we're flying over right now. And basically the idea was to build canals out into the surrounding plains and to farm grapes and wheat, and also obviously water use for the towns in the area. Now, it actually uses gravity. It's like the Roman aqueducts. It kind of flows slightly downwards. And one of the towns that was formed around this area is Vredendal. Now, you're going to notice that it's right on the edge of Little Namaqualand. So as soon as you go further than this, you hit a far drier climate. So this is really the end point that you get for the whole Mediterranean wheat growing zone, pushed to its furthest northern limit by the irrigation project. Now, the Vredendal campus is also a fairly new campus, and sadly its really nice new residences burnt down in 2018, the men's residences, but it's still doing really well. So over there you can do primary health, you can do electrical engineering, you can do engineering and related design. It's had a rapid growth of the NCV in the area, and it's also been working quite hard with UNISA, setting up a B.Ed foundation program. And I must say, actually, across all the campuses, there is a really huge and effective workplace experience program. So now let's do a radical pull out north so that we can actually see the whole of the west coast, kind of like from the point of Namibia and Angola. And the first thing that you'll see is just how big the Olifants River irrigation scheme actually is and how it provides much of the agricultural needs for that zone. And then you'll see the beautiful St. Helena Bay, named as such in 1497 by Vasco da Gama, who, when he saw the people in the area, said they were swarthy and they eat sea wolves and whales and the flesh of gazelles and the roots of plants, but they kept dogs, they wore shells, small copper beads in their ears, and they fanned their faces with foxtails fastened to sticks. That's one of the first anthropological accounts we have of the people in the area. And I would have loved to hear what the locals actually thought of the foreigners, especially given the fact that a little bit later on, there was lots of dancing going on between the Danish crews coming down and the local people in the area. And it is here that we find the excellent Vredenburg campus, with its center of specialization in pipe fitting, really well done. There's been a long history of doing welding over there and sheet metal work, and an excellent trade test center where you can actually get the qualification that proves you can do the skill and move into a trade. Now, on top of all of that, you can still do tourism, business management, you can do electrical engineering, and you can do engineering and related design. Now, one of the reasons why Vredenburg is here is because it's right near the Southern Hemisphere's biggest and most natural deep water harbour, Saldanha Bay. And it's had a long history of people attempting to use it for that, but really struggling with water because it's in such a dry region. And it was only once they worked out how to pipe water through here that it became a viable zone of investment. But it has been used for the Saldanha-Sishen railway line, thousands of kilometers long, where iron ores transferred from the Katu mines all the way in the Northern Cape and coming down to here. In fact, there's a huge steel mill, Saldanha Steel, right over here, but it's been really struggling of late. Erratic electricity, high costs, cutthroat steel pricing from foreign competitors who are getting support from their countries, importing steel into our country, us having sold off ISCOR to Mittal for almost no reason whatsoever. But that said, actually the current government is trying to invest in the area and grow it. They're looking at renewable energy, oil and gas, maritime industries, wind farms, and all those kinds of developments to try and make sure that this area does develop and grow. And that gives us first sight of the West Coast TVET College campuses. This excellent college with really good work integrated learning programs, great infrastructure, existing in a West Coast world where you have the Koeberg power station on the one side, the crazy and tragic apartheid dream for a colored Atlantis, the huge wheat fields on the other side, and then the Olifants River irrigation scheme running through the beautiful mountains, and then the Saldanha Bay jewel piece, which has the railway lines coming all the way through from Katu, dropping off iron ore and exporting it rather than us actually making the steel ourselves. And in all of this, we have West Coast College thriving in this environment.